Welcome back. Welcome to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour. All right. Tone it down, y'all. You're listening to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios at K-Kid 92.9. And we have got a dope show for you this week. And please don't get upset if we cough a little while we talk to you a lot. All right, you're tuned into the Flower Power Hour, where today I've got some excellent guests on. I've got Andrew Mullins, the executive director of MoCan Trade. I've got Denise McCracken, a cannabis attorney with DB McCracken Law. That's her firm. We're going to talk to her all about all kinds of new things happening out there. And we've got Chris Chesley, owner of Starbuds. That's one of the dopest dispensaries out there. They're in University City and they're over in Festus. Big shout out to those cats there doing their thing and helping the patients as well. Because I know there's a staff and a team back there that we're going to thank, because it's never just one person, right? Really into it. All right, this is going to be a heck of a show. We also have guests from our Courage and Cannabis series coming up. Justin Trowbridge in New Mexico, Route 66 Labs. What's going on, buddy? Who do we have on the Courage and Cannabis today?
We've got Christine Chapman coming on, and she's got a pretty cool CBD inhaler and a pretty cool story about how that product came to be. So it'll be a good show.
Yeah, very cool. I could tell you what, we were just offline this morning talking to some buddies of mine about the inhalers and how that should be a thing. It's like any vehicle to get this medicine to folks. Why are you laughing, Tim?
Man, dude, you love all these different delivery systems.
I do. I love, man, if it's a vehicle for cannabis, put me in the back seat. I'm ready to rock and roll.
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
All right. So I want to say, first off, we've got a room full of people right now. And I didn't say I was going to say this beforehand, but there isn't a person in this room who didn't do their best to and everything they could to pass these new laws and these new regulations and these new rights that we're celebrating day in and day out in Missouri. And I know, Justin, I know you got adult use down there in New Mexico, but I've got numbers that tell me that we are beating the tail skin right off of your market down there. We're crushing it up here. So I want to talk a little bit about that too, because we've got a lot of really cool numbers to talk about. And
I'm blown away by that.
And why is a stoner ex-veteran guy like me on the radio want to talk about these numbers? Because a lot of these taxes and a lot of that goes directly to help the veterans in Missouri. And that's what I absolutely love to see, being a veteran myself. So big shout out to the team that's in this room today for every bit of the hours that every single one of you put in to get where we're at. I really appreciate you, and so do the patients out there. So let's get into it. Andrew Mullins, how are you, my friend? This is that part where I got to tell you, get right on the mic.
It's a good time to be in Missouri.
You can move it around too. Yeah. Grab it.
Let's get there. You go. There
we go.
Right
yeah.
there.
So Andrew, your team, MoCan Trade. Let's tell the listeners a little bit about what MoCan Trade is. You're the executive director. Kind of what your job is for the industry and for the patients.
So we, as an organization, we formed in 2018, about 6 months before the passage of Amendment 2, and really we formed to be the representative voice of the industry. And the folks that helped organize the association believe that was really important, because in many other states where laws like Amendment 2 or Amendment 3, when they pass, what you end up having is a regulatory oversight by generally a governing body, state, like we have the Department of Health, and a lot of times without sort of a counterbalance to the things that they desire to do, which could be, just normal regulation or potentially over-regulation. Without a counterbalance to that, you run into a lot of issues, and you see programs, and all you got to do is look out across the landscape here in the U.S. and look at the various different types of programs and how they were stood up, whether they were
50 different states, 50 different markets. It's a wild experiment.
Right. And whether they were done through a ballot initiative or legislative or executive action, you end up having a program that really takes sort of a life of its own. And we wanted to make sure that what we had in Missouri was both sensibly regulated, but also, fairly accessible, and that the folks that wanted to participate would be prepared to participate. And that's what we started doing in 18. And I believe the net of our efforts, when you look at the quality of the access, the quality of participation, even just going back to the Amendment 2 program and how robust that was, the amount of patients that we had, the amount of access that we had, the amount of dispensaries that we had. and the quality of the products that are in the market, we're really proud of having some influence on how all that came together, and the fact that we have such a great program here in Missouri, and now springboard into A3 and adult use, and obviously, I mean, we're all just riding this wave of success and looking around, and everybody's looking at Missouri going, how are these guys doing this? This is amazing. And it takes a village. It's not just MoCan by any means. There's so many folks that have responsibility in making this program what it is, and we're just excited to be helping lead the charge, but certainly collaborating with all the stakeholders to help make Missouri what it is.
And I do think that there is an opportunity here for Missouri. I believe that it's already happening, that other states, as they begin to legalize or begin to shift their legalizations that didn't maybe work as well as they thought they were going to, we're seeing a lot of those conversations emulate what Missouri's doing.
100%.
And I certainly hope that on a federal level that some of that can be translated up that chain a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I field a fair amount of calls from my peers, both in an executive director role. There's obviously associations that represent these programs all across the country, but also even on the regulator side, where they want to know. It's sometimes it's a simple question like, what's the secret sauce? And there really is no secret sauce. I think a lot of it is interest, it's passion, it's professionalism, it's just caring. That when you think about these programs, we obviously had framers that really thoughtfully crafted both amendments, and we saw our job is to make sure that when that was implemented and executed, that it was done in just as thoughtful and quality way. So all the things that it's like promises made, promises delivered, and we wanted to make sure that all those things happen. So when I get these calls, they're sort of like, well, how are you guys doing this? And it's again, I think it's the thoughtfulness in how it was crafted, but also the care and concern in how it's implemented.
And let's be real about it. It's going to be impossible for any state to implement a perfect program. There's always going to be like these little nuances. Like our industry is a bit surprised by sales. I believe that some of these companies maybe as they started to see the vote turn their way, I think that some of them started to really work a lot harder then. But there wasn't really an opportunity before we hit that yes, that we heard yes, we legalized A3. There wasn't that opportunity yet for them to go forward. So we do have a little bit of a spell here where our industry has to stretch and respond and react and be reactionary. And I think Missouri is actually doing that better than a lot of the states that have had that same issue.
Well, I'd say a couple things here. So first, you look at just the launch of adult use.
Right.
To have a program go from medical to adult use in 87 days,
wow,
with retail sales happening, not only was that impressive, and I look at the professionalism and the grace of the people who, like you mentioned earlier, the frontline folks who are dealing with this, and think about that change in volume. We're used to, maybe spending some time with folks, talk about their conditions, talk about what kind of products they're looking to engage, and then you get into just a lot more volume, and you got, people standing out the door that are trying to access this medicine and these products. And that's sort of one side of it. And that probably wasn't as much of a surprise. I think everybody was prepared. And you can look at all these programs across the country that have implemented and see sort of standards for implementation. Like, okay, well, from medical to adult use, the typical ratio of a sales multiplier might be 2.5 to 3. And so everybody sort of had that expectation built in their mind. But I think what some of us just got mired in a little bit was last fall, we had a very robust program, great access, lots of patients, great sales, but you also had a pretty significant amount of production, and we started to see a pretty big oversupply. And that was the cultivators are looking around, and they have their wholesale commodities markets and different tools they use to see how they sell and the prices and all that good stuff. And what we started seeing is a lot of people sitting on pounds, and there was just more supply than there was demand. And I think everybody thought, okay, well, this is going to open up as we potentially move towards adult use, but that wasn't a guarantee. Amendment 3 was an amazing concept, and we all, believed that it could happen, but we didn't know for sure. Nothing's guaranteed. So a lot of those folks, pulled back production. They shut down rooms because they just didn't want to have be sitting on all this oversupply. Obviously, it costs money to do this. So, they reduced production, but as soon as the law passed, then it's like, okay, we got to step on the gas. But the problem is, like any organic product that you're going to grow and harvest, it's not like flipping on a light switch. You've got time between. There's a lag between when you're producing. So even though we all knew this was coming after the vote, you can't just turn it back on and then you multiply that, like we were just talking about, the amount of sales. It's not been 2.5 or 3 times. We have what I like to call can of tourism here in Missouri. You got 8 states that are all coming in to, enjoy some can of tourism.
Big shout out to my sponsors up there at the lake, Latitude, keeping it real up there.
So, you've got folks that are seeing what the great things we're doing here in Missouri, and they want access to it. And obviously they're getting access to it, but that's changed that multiplier in some areas to very much higher. And that was sort of the unexpected part. So you have this, unique tension between what we thought was going to happen versus what's really happening. And then that sort of catch up in the lag of production. And I think it's going to balance out as we get a little further here into the summer. We're already starting to see a little bit more come online. And those folks that drop genetics in December, January, they're starting to see, their harvest in late April, May. So it'll be a balancing thing the whole year, but just, as long as we all have just a little bit of patience and understand that we did things that nobody else has ever done before here in Missouri. And we should be really proud of that. We should all, express a little bit of patience for some of these machinations, all these little movements. But I mean, again, you stand back and look at this just like in a landscape view, and this is I still think it's the best program in the United States. That's my
dude. I'm not seriously the Andy Reid of weed.
All right, man.
I mean, think about the team of people that you've built, the amount of people that are involved in this organization to pull off what you just got through talking about.
Well, and it's not just the organization. I mean, this is an entire industry effort. We'd like to, we as a trade association represent, nearly 90% of the license holding industry in Missouri. And I think the reason that is because we do care. We as an organization care about, the trade. We care about what happens to the folks that have gone through, and Chris, I'm sure, can talk about this a little bit, just what it takes to become a licensee. And folks are like, oh well, you got a license and then now you're printing money. And it's like, no, BS. That is not the case at all.
We're going to take them through the story.
For a lot of these folks, this is the tallest hill they've ever had to climb. Exactly. Even as a successful business person, when they get into this industry, it's completely different. And obviously every state is different in and of itself from a regulatory perspective. So it really has been, again, when people come to me and say, well, Missouri's, doing all these things, I say, well, it's the village. And I mean, there's so many people responsible for getting us here and ensuring that we continue to have success.
Well, wow. I appreciate you being and humble the way you guys are. When we get back, I want to talk about the opportunities that folks are going to have with the micro licenses. And then we're going to talk a little bit about cannabis law. And I definitely want to sit down and talk about the story of Starbuds, because it's a great one too. All right, folks, we're going to go to commercial. We're going to pay a few bills. What are you going to play them on the FM side, brother?
What do I have coming up? We've got some Black Crows, a little hard to handle.
Right on. Hey, Justin, Trowbridge, Route 66, down there in New Mexico, buddy. What do you got for him on the interactive and the YouTube side? You got the some new Captain Crossfade for him?
Yeah, we got the new Captain Crossfade, and we have the artificial intelligence Barack Obama ad up on that one too. So,
oh man, all kinds of new.
If you want to hear Obama take a dab rip, you can do that now.
Yep, you can head over to our socials and check it out. Only here. I promise you're going to have fun. All right, folks, when we get back, we're going to talk about all that. You're listening to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios at KKID 92.9.
Chess is the perfect metaphor for business. You have to consider every angle before you move. You and your opponent have the same rules to follow. Not now, Michelle. I'm recording this ad right now. No, I didn't pick up that cheese you like. Well, I didn't see it when I was at the store. What is that in your hand? Oh, this is that fire concentrate we got the other day? Hell yes, I'll do a dab with you. Why didn't you just say that? Oh, this is still recording. Check out the creative minds at Route 66 Labs. Obama. Out!
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
People always ask me, how do you do it? What's your secret? How long did it take? What kind of dedication do you have? How do you do it every day? Well, the truth is, I'm high as shit most of the time, and I wax off a lot. I mean a lot.
Let's give a warm welcome to Smokey River Cannabis.
Hello, Missouri. Are you ready?
At BesaMe Wellness, we're all about supporting the health and well-being of our community. With a wide selection of locally curated medical marijuana products, we'll help find what works best for you. Don't have a card? Let us help navigate the application process. And if you can't make it to one of our 5 convenient locations, we'll even deliver to your door. Visit us in-store or online at BesaMeWellness.com.
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios at KKID 92.9, where we're talking to all kinds of good friends of ours about the opportunities that are coming up here with the micro licenses. We talked a little bit about MoCan Trade, learned a lot about that organization. What an interesting pathway that it's taken to get to where we're at in Missouri. It's taken literally folks like your organization and the folks behind the language and all that, and along with all the advocates and activism out there. It's been a wild road, and every piece of that puzzle was so important when we go back and we look back. It's just without any one portion of that, we'd have been in a lot of trouble. So it's very very good to talk about some of the opportunities that come from this new legalization, new adult use, and the micro license opportunities. Because we were talking before the show, Andrew. There were a lot of folks, naysayers, we'll call them, because I don't use the H word on the show. Then we'll call them the naysayers. They said maybe that this kind of language at the micro licenses was thrown in to kind of appease some people, to appease the conversation of social equity and things like that. That's not correct.
No, we don't believe so. Again, like I mentioned, we organize to help prepare folks participate in the industry. And now that the industry stood up, we want to make sure that the industry can thrive and is sensibly regulated. When we look at the micro license opportunity, we believe that the framers of Amendment 3 were, again, thoughtful in what this looked like to create equity for folks to participate that previously maybe would have been disenfranchised or economically excluded. And, we as a trade association are taking this up. I mean, the micros are part of the industry that we all know and love, and we want to make sure that the folks that are looking to participate have the information they need, and we can help prepare them using the energy of the trade association and our events and the B2B events that we put on, our member meetups, where we have folks that service providers that are looking to elevate the industry and support the industry, whether they're a lighting provider, security provider, an attorney, whatever that may be. But through that programming and through the information that we want to share, we want to make that opportunity of participation as frictionless as possible. So the people who want to participate can and feel like they can do it, in a competent, professional manner. And I truly believe, and I think the association believes, that the opportunities in front of us for micros are quite tangible and offer up something, even with a larger opportunity past that, because we know that with the micros, there will be, with all the successful micros, there will be an opportunity to potentially convert to a commercial down the road if additional commercial licenses are made available. So that's
that being, if I were to win, if I'm a veteran and I win a license, and I have a successful business, there'll be the opportunity to switch that over to the complete adult use market.
Yeah, it's my belief, and I don't think all of this has been worked out, but the state is watching the program, acutely. And they did this early on during medical, but they haven't done it lately. They're going to do another analysis once, I think, closer to when the commercial industry is fully stood up. I mean, we're still less than 50% of our overall cultivation capacity in the state.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not by license, but by actual canopy, because we're still in that transition from medical to adult use, and expanding those and the lag that we already talked about.
Yeah, many of our friends on the show, we tour their gardens, and they always like to show us the spot where the weed is eventually gonna be. That's my favorite spot. That's my favorite spot.
It.
Yeah,
I love it. So knowing that it's our belief the state's going to do another market analysis, and if they see at that time that demand is greater than supply, they're going to issue more cultivation license. They're going to issue more, if access is a problem, they're going to issue more retail. And so knowing that, if that's what the statistics dictate, then we'll see more cultivation license. When those are made available, the micros are going to get first shot.
And I truly believe, and we talk about it on the show often, that Missouri is in place to not only move a lot of great brands around the country when federal legalization happens, but to also be a great logistics point. So as federal legalization starts to be whatever it's going to be, Missouri is looking to be could possibly be kind of the heart of cannabis in the United States if we do this correct. And it sounds like maybe we're heading in that right direction.
That is true. That is true.
Well, that's what's fun about having the radio show, being a part of watching all these brands. Yeah. Watching Robust and watching Vivid. All these guys that really put a lot of effort
Yeah, and gals.
And yeah, exactly. It's just an awesome thing to be a part of.
Yeah, it's an experience and an experiment at the same time.
And I agree. That's been impressive because I look out across the whole national landscape and I see, in some states you might have 10 or 12 companies and brands that sort of dominate the whole state.
Sure.
And here we have hundreds.
Yeah.
Amen.
And many of the ones you're mentioning, others that we're all, know and love around Missouri.
When we can talk about them all, we're not afraid.
Right. Exactly.
I try not to play favorites.
Hey, it's hard around here, man.
We got hundreds of brands and hundreds of members. I love all my kids.
My team's all decked out and robust. I didn't even notice y'all are matching. Good job, guys.
But the brands that you guys are speaking about, I mean, these are brands that can compete in parity with the national brands that we see out there. And I think that every bit of the sophistication, the professionalism, what they've created, it could easily translate to a national marketplace.
I mean, we are being talked about in every other market right now. It's just true. Every other state is talking about what Missouri's got going on, and the numbers speak to it. I noticed here, Justin, how are you doing down there in New Mexico right now?
I'm tired. I'm getting everything geared up for 420 next week, and you guys
up here, yeah, Justin's
running me ragged. So
Justin's taking a train up here. Hey, did you see New Mexico? For the first year of your adult use cannabis sales, you guys see what your total was?
Not lately, no.
It's a pretty thriving market. You guys did 300 million all year. That's pretty good stuff for New Mexico. What did we do last month?
126.2, I believe.
The month before that, I think we did 103.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys are doing. I'm just kidding. I'm just pulling Justin's leg down there. They're actually killing the market. We have some great friends and sponsors down there as well that we appreciate. So. But yeah, so let's talk about a little bit about the opportunities that folks are going to have with the micro licensing. I think now might be a good time to bring Denise to the microphone. And do we want to bring Chris up right now, or do we want to keep you on for a second, Andrew?
Let's throw Chris in the hot seat.
Chris, let's throw you up here because honestly, part of what I want to talk about is while our Constitution has made these very accessible for folks, and it's not no road to own a business like this in a newly regulated market is going to be easy. And Chris has taken that road with Starbuds and getting into the biz. So I want to give a little quick introduction to who I've got seated here. I got Chris Chelsea, owner of Starbuds, Chesley. Yeah, and you'll jump right on that mic for me. We got Chris Chesley, Starbuds. You guys are out now, University City and Festus. And I got Denise McCracken from DB McCracken Law. So we're going to talk a little bit about I'm going to jump into a little bit about what it takes to get into this and some of the regulations behind it, along with maybe some of the spirit of what we're looking for here. But first, I want to talk about struggle. So, Chris, let's talk. That's a terrible way to say it. I apologize.
But that's exactly what it is. I mean, coming from the traditional market, I was just like, people like weed. I like, getting people weed shouldn't be much of an issue.
Right.
But you start getting all that compliance in there, and it changes the game quite a bit. Package IDs and, track and trace systems and POS systems reporting to the state system. And I mean, there's just a lot out there that doesn't make it nearly as easy as what it initially seems like.
Okay, so let's talk about process for a second. With the medical market, the process is a little bit different than what we're looking at with the micro licensing in a lot of ways and similar in a lot of ways. But let's talk about what you went through. You went after a license, right? Now, when you got the license, did you have that moment there where we talk about, like Justin was talking about, he went for some licenses in New Mexico. He said, man, he goes, the thing is, like, it's when you get the license that it can be kind of scary. Because that's when you've got so much to do, So did it look like a mountain, or did you realize exactly what you were getting into, and where did the help come from?
It was the scariest part, and I had absolutely no clue what I was getting into. But I saw that there was a huge challenge, and the more I dug in and talked to attorneys about compliance, what was going on, it became more and more daunting. So, if people that are going to, do this, they really need to make sure that they're working with a team of really dependable people that have a true passion. Because if you don't have a passion, if you're just here to try to make some money on this, you're going to give up. It's not worth it. You got to have a passion for this plant, the people, the culture, all of it.
Yeah, I was just reading something like There's a certain percentage I know that Greenway magazine covered on which companies have reached profitability in Missouri, and it's not as big a number as people would think it is. It's not an easy task to get into, nor is it a small check to write in the very beginning. It's a lot of work. Just out of curiosity, do you know about how many employees you have with Starbuds?
I think right about now we're creeping on 40 between our two stores, and that's in store and people that are helping outside, making sure we're getting all the products that we need and things like that.
Now, are you open 7 days a week?
7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, that's access.
That's called hustle, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So once you got your license, right? Were you prepared for everything that you were going to have to tackle, or was it day in and day out brand new issues?
Brand new issues every day, and we're still dealing with that. We're still learning new things. We're still figuring things out. We have some partners in another state, but every state's its own thing, and so we're still kind of here figuring things out on our own.
Missouri certainly has its own cannabis culture. We're seeing that like raise up in a different kind of creature than we've seen in other states. The Ozarks speaks, St. Louis speaks, Kansas City, Columbia, Springfield. They're all just really green areas, and it's really neat to see our culture begin to form up around us.
That's why the branding gig works, because of all those different cultures.
Sure.
It's not the same.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like Missouri has its own subcultures. It's just a true thing, So I'm sure a lot of states have that, but here we're able to identify it pretty easily, and like you can tell because a certain amount of massive parties happen in Kansas City with cannabis, and then you got St. Louis popping off with this cannabis golf tournament or something over here. Like they're defining their cultures as they go, which is I really dig it, man. So you got obviously a great team behind you with the dispensaries there, and a lot of good relationships in the industry. And you said that still every day there's something brand new. Let's talk about what kind of team it takes to do this, because when we can bring Denise on a little bit here too, because compliancy is huge. But
compliance is number one.
Yeah.
Because if you're out of compliance, the state will shut you down. Then you don't have a business.
Right.
So compliance is number one. And so working with attorneys like Denise is going to be your biggest thing. I come from a past of always wanting to break the rules and bend the rules and all of that.
Very good.
And if you don't have someone that's a big stickler for compliance,
right, keeping
you in line, you are not going to have a business.
Okay, so let's do it like this. So let's talk about I'm a veteran, okay, and I want to build the Voltron of weed around me. Who's my arms? Who's my legs? Who do I need? I need a good cannabis attorney.
You need Denise.
I need Denise McCracken.
Yeah,
and I
ask
Chris
her questions
Chesley.
all the time. I mean, every time we see each other, I got questions for her.
Right. So okay, so and then of course, if I'm a veteran, I'm not going to know a whole lot about like branding support, things like that either, going forward. So like it'd be interesting to see what these new micro licenses come about. I can't visualize it as like mom and pop shops or how it's going to look, but it should look pretty interesting.
So if you're going to start though,
yeah,
you want to start with a phone call to Denise and say, hey, I'm looking to get into a micro license. Is that how this works?
Absolutely. Because one, she's going to be able to help you navigate that. And two, she's going to be able to draft up agreements with whoever you plan on partnering with. She's going to be able to help you communicate with the state in a way that
you have to stay on the mic there.
Makes the state want to communicate with you as well.
Okay, so let's talk about who qualifies for a micro license with the new laws that we have. Denise, so I know disabled veterans, or is it just any veteran?
It's veterans that have a disability or service-related disability card.
Very
and
good.
It doesn't matter what percentage of disability that you are, just so long as you have that service-related disability.
Right on. I'm a 40% disability, and the way they come up with those numbers is pretty interesting. Like literally your part of your body is like a percentage point. Like I have 10% as my shoulder, 10% as my tinnitus, and then they add that up and you get your qualification.
Dude, you're a good research study.
I'm telling you, bro, I got this a lot. Like, I was
They're going to
trained for this.
rank you right up with Keith Richards.
Whatever. So, should I live half that long? But so you got disabled, service-connected disabled veterans.
So I'm going to make this real exciting for you. Before I go any further, as an attorney, I have rules of professional
advise me of my
responsibility.
rights.
That's
Okay.
right,
Okay.
that I have to follow. So I just need to make sure it's clear that I'm not providing any legal advice today. This is all for educational purposes, and it doesn't create an attorney-client relationship. And everybody knows that even though it's legal in Missouri, it's still federally illegal. So with that excitement said, some of the other categories that are available for people to become eligible in includes looks at your net worth. And the net worth that you would qualify for is $250,000 or less. That's part one. Part two is if your income is below 250% of the federal poverty level for at least 3 out of the last 10 calendar years. So you start throwing out numbers like that and you wonder, do I qualify for that? Well, taking this a little bit to the side, you can go online and do research on the U.S. Census Bureau to see what 250% of the poverty level is, or other federal websites as well.
It's all pretty good, pretty accessible information. Yeah.
The other thing, though, is that Missouri has appointed a chief equity officer. That was part of the amendment. And one of that chief equity officer's responsibility is to create programming to help people that maybe parts of communities that have been, impacted by marijuana prohibition, to help them with the application process or technical assistance. So if you're not sure if you qualify, keep your eyes open on the Department of Health and Senior Services website. They now go by the name of the Division of Cannabis Regulation. Keep your eyes open because they're required by the Constitution to provide this programming. And, I hope part of that programming is helping people look up the numbers to see if they actually fall within that 250% of the poverty level.
So they're supposed to provide some navigation here.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, supposed to, yeah.
Don't you like the name better too? Instead of DHSS?
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally. Just Cannabis Bureau. We're good.
Or DCR.
DCR.
Is that the acronym?
Yes, it is.
DCR. My bad.
Yeah.
The other nice qualification here is for anyone who's been themselves a parent, a guardian, or a spouse who has been arrested for, prosecuted, or convicted of a nonviolent marijuana offense. And it just, so long as that offense doesn't have to do with distribution to a minor or if driving underneath the influence.
Now, is that a misdemeanor or is it a felony?
There's no distinction.
No distinction.
Whatsoever.
That's what we were wondering today.
And you don't even have to have had a conviction for it. You just have to have been arrested for it. And it doesn't have to be here in Missouri.
Okay,
and there's no time limit on it as well. I had somebody give me a call and say, I have a parent that back in the 60s had a arrest for marijuana. Can I take a look at that? And I said, well, sure, but make sure you get all the documentation that the department is going to require for you in order to be able to prove that you fall within that eligibility. So this is going to require some paperwork pulling together to prove this.
And so that's my question. So chasing down paperwork like that, I don't think that prosecutors and secretaries and things like that are really lining up to help us a lot. How can people navigate that? Because like myself, I've did 256 days here in Phelps County for cannabis, but they don't really like me in that office. So I go up there and start asking for paperwork. I feel like I wish that wasn't kind of a thing. So I wish that there was a better way to do that part.
That will need to be explored, those resources. And I think that over time, as we get closer to it, there will be more resources made available. Once again, I go back to the chief equity officer for DHSS.
I'm going to send Tim to get my paperwork.
Hey, we'll get it done. It's all good.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, because I'm just going to go to her.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I can get you 80%. I told you 80% of it I can get you.
Okay.
It's the 20 that she's got to do.
So a question that I have is, you were talking about, if you had a incident, so to say, out of state, and my next question is do you have to be a resident of Missouri to apply for a license?
No, you don't have to be a resident of Missouri. And I want to address that a little bit because I feel like as a Missouri law, everybody out there is hoping that Missourians will get benefits of this, will be tops on the list. Well, there's still law out there that has to be applied to the Missouri Constitution. And if you recall, for the Section 1 that made medical marijuana legal, it was 50% or greater had to be Missouri residents.
Residency requirements.
Correct. However, there was a district court case, a federal district court case, I believe it was in the Western District of Missouri, that said that particular requirement violated the Commerce Clause.
Maybe that was quite a bit ago. Was that like 18 months ago or something?
It wasn't that long ago.
Okay,
no.
okay. We might have been shorter than that, yeah. But I remember that happening and going, hold on, that's big for all the states, like as they go forward, because a lot of these folks have residency requirements, and it isn't just us, but having it struck down is a precedence that could change what we're looking at.
So actually, when we were working on medical, there was a pretty good idea that we knew that was going to be struck down.
Okay.
And we were hoping to get that in there just long enough so that big out-of-state people didn't come over and own 90% and have just, one Missouri person there owning 10.
Right.
It was designed to at least give us a little bit of an edge as Missouri people. And then if the courts got around to it, we figured it would probably be knocked down.
And let's be real about it too. Allowing a certain percentage of folks to come in also allows for a lot of funding, and that's what folks also need in this industry, because it's not like banks are lining up to give us loans.
No.
And for anyone who is thinking about how does a Missourian get a benefit out of this, there's no guarantees. However, recently medical marijuana licensees were able to request conversion to comprehensive, and that's the word for both medical marijuana and adult use. And when they requested the conversion, they were required to say on their request if they had any plans to promote and encourage participation of people from communities and disproportionately impacted by the marijuana prohibition. So you have a lot of Missouri licenses that may be interested in working with Missourians, that have an interest in helping Missourians, and I would think that they were more likely to look at residents and learn about and make part of their team. And like we were talking about earlier, you need to make sure you have a team that you can trust and that has the skill sets that you want to have on that. Well, it's easier to learn that if you live next to somebody and
Right.
able to get to know them. In addition, there are also, so you have these licensees that may be interested in helping people. Locally, you also have some incubators I'm aware of that are starting out there. There are cooperatives, there are associations, different associations. So I'm a member of JANE, which is the association in Missouri that helps, focuses on empowering women in Missouri's cannabis industry. Everybody's invited to be part of it. I will give myself a little bit of plug. I am doing a webinar next week on April 18th, and it'll be on microbusiness licenses, and it's free to register. You just go to the JANE website, which is wearejane.com.
And is that JANE, right? Or is
It's JAINE.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, okay.
That's a tricky one.
Now,
JAI.
is this so? This is going to be online, the webinar,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Very
but
cool.
It's pretty wild that
Right.
it's free. Also, like that's a lot of great information for somebody that is looking to get into it.
And I have some marketing people that are helping out with this. So the backlight for me should be significantly better than prior webinars that I've been involved with.
Very cool.
Right.
What were we gonna ask?
Well, I was asking. So if what's the age limit on someone who wants to apply for a micro license? I mean, you have to be 21, obviously, to be.
Yeah, and Steve's over that limit, I
Sure
think.
about
So
that.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about having to be 21.
Right. I mean, if you have to be 21 to
You may
buy
not
it,
be
I
able
was
to
just
buy at your own dispensary.
Or be accompanied by your
curious.
parents.
Mom, Dad, help me open up the shop.
Okay.
I need to open
that
up.
was just.
That's a good point. It's not particularly identified in there.
Huh. Justin, what did you say? Because it was kind of funny.
well, I was going to say, I think Steve's over that age limit, so you're out on
Right.
the application, Steve.
I am, but I mean, we are also looking to get into a cultivation with my son. He's been out in Colorado for 12 years and blah blah blah, and then a kid over in Cuba, but he's 20. That's what I'm saying. If we're going to partner, then obviously everybody has to be of the correct age in order to be listed in a licensing agreement and stuff like that. But if there's no,
who knows, man? So I guess. Are we expecting like 400 people or 4 billion people to come forward?
Well,
after these licenses?
FanDuel has this on the betting line on the over/under on how many licenses will be turned in Missouri.
I don't believe you.
So
will be
it's-
applied
Is that really
for.
a thing?
Oh yeah, Yeah, it's an over-under deal.
What?
Yeah.
I'm checking right now.
Call the bluff, bro.
992 is the number.
You're not making this up.
I'm just saying.
For
He
applications.
still hasn't told me if he's making it up.
It'd be good though, right?
See, that's what I'm saying. Justin, can we do that? Can we get one of those going?
I think we can do that online. Totally.
Yeah. Anyway. So go ahead, Denise. Sorry to interrupt there.
All right, so we're getting back to a couple of different categories that people can qualify for in order to get these micro business licenses. There also has to do. There's one section that has to do with either the zip code or the census tract that you live in. And if people aren't familiar, census tract is how the U.S. Census Bureau breaks down into blocks the different demographics that they use, because they don't go by zip codes necessarily. And if you reside in a zip code or census tract, you would qualify if there's 30% or more of the population lives below the federal poverty level. Once again, if you want to know what the federal poverty level is, you go online and there are information for that. The rate of unemployment is 50% higher than the state average. So a Missourian would be looking at the state average for Missouri. Someone from Arizona.
So many little communities outside, like in the Ozarks, that would benefit from this. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
And then you're also looking at if you live in a zip code or census tract where the historic rate of incarceration for marijuana related offenses is 50% higher than the rate of the entire state. Now, a good question is, how do you go about proving that? And I believe in the...
Yeah, how do you, somebody already has that data?
So the DHSS has issued regulations right now. And if I remember correctly, they have identified the type of proof that they want for each one of these categories. And for this particular category, I believe you have to go to your local prosecutor and ask them to write a letter. And I'm looking at Chris here to say, yes, I remember that.
Chris, you didn't write that in?
No, I didn't put that in there. So.
Yeah, she really turned on you fast.
Yeah, real fast. Yeah. I look at the people behind me, but I'm pretty sure that's it.
Thinking, how hard is that going to be to find all of that data?
Yeah, I don't want to go there.
When we were, writing this and we were, talking about this, one of the things that came up is this is going to be hard to find some of this data, and we didn't mean for it to be hard. We were trying to make sure people that were deserving of this and people weren't taking advantage of it, but it is, where I guess you would have to go to your local prosecutor or your local police department and start asking them for statistics.
Yeah, I'll double check on that, but my memory is that you have to get a letter from your local prosecutor.
I'll be honest, my local police and my local prosecutor are going to think it's weird if I go knocking on their door and asking them for information. Just saying.
Times
Flip the script, y'all.
It's really, you talk about going in and talking to your prosecutor about this, but a lot of people felt for the expungement part of this bill that there might be some difficulties with different judges having, different opinions about this, but it's gone much smoother, and courts have gone out of their way to try and make this move forward as smooth as possible. So you just kind of hope that translates over to anyone who wants to use this particular category and approach their prosecutor.
So
or whatever it costs.
Is that going to be an issue for people that they go in there asking for their records and they found out that it's been expunged?
Go up and make sure you hold on to that documentation now.
You can tell, bro's been through
it. That's a good point.
He's all like, he's got a little PTSD. He's like, hold on, that's not going to work. Hold on, let me tell you about that. It's not going to work.
Yeah, you got to say. I actually found a ticket from '98 for a possession ticket that I just had recently.
Wow.
You frame it, bro? I would frame it, put it in the disco,
98,
bro.
huh? Yeah. My first incident was it was in '85. I flew into Lambert Airport with 1.5 pounds of weed from Arizona.
Oh my God.
And you know what? They thought I was bringing in cocaine. The DEA had been following me around. Somebody told them I was bringing in a bunch of cocaine. It's like,
this is a true
story. They were pissed because I didn't have cocaine. I had like $400 worth of weed. It's
not even
like, where's the cocaine? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. But anyway.
Go ahead, Denise. Sorry.
All right, one last category.
So he qualifies.
And this is the most exciting category. It is if you graduated from a school district that was unaccredited at the time of graduation, or you've lived in a zip code containing an unaccredited school district for 3 of the past 5 years. So this is kind of interesting how the regulations may change, may need to change. But currently, the regulations say that you need to go on the DESE, which is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education website, and get this information for the unaccredited school districts, right? But if this is not limited to Missouri residents, then obviously you would want to go to your own state's Department of Education in order to get this information. And that could just be just a little, tiny thing that needs to get moved up, or DHSS may be specifically wanting people to focus on Missourians and Missouri schools. We will see. There's certain interpretations that still need to be worked out.
Yeah, because it seems like they still have a little leeway to close up some of those doors if they chose to. Yeah.
Well, if they need to follow the Constitution, and if they don't, there's going to be a delay.
We're sending Denise.
Yeah.
They don't. All right.
But it takes a whole team of people, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. Hey, we got to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk more about the micro licensing opportunities and dive into this a little bit further. You guys are listening to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios at KKID 92.9.
Chess is the perfect metaphor for business. You have to consider every angle before you move. You and your opponent have the same rules to follow. Not now, Michelle. I'm recording this ad right now. No, I didn't pick up that cheese you like. Well, I didn't see it when I was at the store. What is that in your hand? Oh, this is that fire concentrate we got the other day? Hell yes, I'll do a dab with you. Why didn't you just say that? Oh, this is still recording. Check out the creative minds at Route 66 Labs. Obama. Out!
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
People always ask me, how do you do it? What's your secret? How long did it take? What kind of dedication do you have? How do you do it every day? Well, the truth is, I'm high as shit most of the time, and I wax off a lot. I mean a lot.
Let's give a warm welcome to Smokey River Cannabis.
Hello, Missouri. Are you ready?
At BesaMe Wellness, we're all about supporting the health and well-being of our community. With a wide selection of locally curated medical marijuana products, we'll help find what works best for you. Don't have a card? Let us help navigate the application process. And if you can't make it to one of our 5 convenient locations, we'll even deliver to your door. Visit us in-store or online at BesaMeWellness.com.
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
Premium brand. Different. We're the best. High quality. Unique. Premium brand. Different. Unique. Premium brand. Different. We're different. We're different. Premium brand.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour. From the green waves to the airwaves, we're bringing it to you from the Robust Cannabis Studios at KKID 92.9 right here in the Grozarks. All right, we've been talking about micro licenses. I know what you're thinking over there. Man, this guy's good at that intro. I'm getting better.
I want to
every
smoke
day.
this guy's weed.
I'm saying too.
At the end of the day, he's got to grow good weed.
You cultivate?
I used to back in the day.
He said I can grow.
Right.
He said I can grow. Right on. Okay, so let's put myself in a perspective of somebody going after one of these micro licenses. I've heard that we can do it. I've heard now that I qualify for it. Now, what do I got to do? What's next? What do the time frames look like? Because certainly I'm going to want to get busy.
You're going to want to start yesterday and as soon as possible. But listening to the show will motivate you to start getting.
That's what's up.
Getting things going.
First.
Right.
So the main deadline coming up here right now is June 6th. So June 6th is when DHSS has to have the applications available for people so that they can start looking at them, know what they have to put on the applications, know what the kind of documentation they have to fill out. At the same time, though, you really don't have to wait till then to get a good understanding of what it is that you're going to need to put on an application, because all you need to do is look at the Constitution and the current emergency regulations, and they have a list of what needs to be put on applications in the future. Now, the emergency rules for these particular sections, regulations, are the same for the emergency rules as well as the proposed rules, which I could explain as well.
No, you're good. Yeah.
We're good. So, that list, it's a list of maybe 10 different items on there. Look at it and start pulling that together. In addition, as we were talking about with eligibility for these microbusiness licenses, those regulations are already out as well. And in addition to qualifications, the department has already indicated the kind of paperwork that they want in order to prove that you qualify for these different criteria. So you can look at that and start working on that now. You don't need to wait to see the application. But the application is going to be available at the beginning of June. Now, the next step is for you're going to want to spend that time, after that, just building your teams, networking as much as you possibly can.
Let's talk about that for a second. Networking in this industry is a whole different ball game and completely necessary in a way that a lot of other ones aren't, because through networking, you're not only, I'm sure you can attest, Chris, that you've had to not only form strong friendships out there, but business relationships in a way that this is a new industry. You got to keep your circle small, but still make sure that the blunt goes around.
So back in 2018, when we finally passed medical marijuana, we were all networking. Anyone that was hopeful for a license was networking. This is what I hope to do. I hope to cultivate and manufacture. Well, I just want to dispense. Well, if you get a license and I get a license, we need to know each other, and we really need to be talking. We need to, really kind of see what our relationship is going to look like. And if you can come out of the gates with you and a bunch of people that you've, networked with, getting licenses, you're going to be having a much smoother time than other people.
Right.
Rushing to meet who these other potential licensees are.
Right. For product distribution and
everything.
Yeah,
because
think about it from even your packaging and golly, how many different vendors do you have to deal with?
I think we deal with over 50 or 60 at our store.
Exactly. Wow. So with the when medical market stood up, dispensaries, cultivations, they had a certain amount of time to be open and had different check marks they had to meet. Is it like that with this environment too, with these micro licenses? Once they're given their license, do they have a certain amount of time in which they need to stand those businesses up?
So it's going to be the same as it was for medical. I believe they have to stand it up and get their approval to operate within 1 year. There are opportunities to request for variances to extend that as well. However, with the microbusiness licenses, they're given extra time in order to stand up.
And I think it will be a little bit easier when dealing with certain contractors and different types of companies, because now they know, okay, this isn't just somebody, I heard marijuana passed. I hear that it's legal. I don't know if I can go in and work on this. What is my bank going to do? What's my boss going to do? We're in a little bit better position of people being willing to work with the cannabis industry now.
And big shout out to the med market for paving a lot of those trails.
Dude, that's a huge hurdle in business.
Yeah.
I mean, just in talking to people about it anymore, it's like we just got to keep making people get out of that closet.
Yep.
Because they're coming.
And there are opportunities for people to network as well. I mean, MoCan Trade, everybody that I had as a client at the very beginning, I met through networking at MoCan Trade. There are other opportunity, associations out there as well. Jane is another example of that. You just have to get on Facebook is a great place because there's a lot of different organizations that advertise through that. There's also M4MM, which is Minorities for Medical Marijuana.
Big shout out to Brennan.
Yep. So just do the research for that and you'll start seeing it.
Yeah. Wild.
I think there's a lot of different business opportunities that we haven't even really discovered yet out of this. I mean, when you talk about the ecosystem that's going to be built, there's going to be a lot of different opportunities in this industry.
I think the coolest thing that we had in Amendment 3 that a lot of states are still working on getting online now is the lounge opportunities.
Right?
The cannabis lounges. I mean, we could be the next Amsterdam. I mean, that's really where we're at. And I've talked to my elected officials in St. Louis City, and they would love to see coffee shops that are lounges and, hangout bars and, pool halls and all of that.
Radio stations.
You heard it first. Starbud said we're going to be the Amsterdam.
This is the OG lounge of the cannabis
Right,
world.
100%.
Justin, John down there, Route 66 Labs. What were you about to say there?
Well, and how many times have we been working on something anywhere in the country for that matter, and someone's like, hey, I just need to find somebody who can do X. And then we've got somebody in even our little network and all that where, I've got 4 or 5 different groups that I'm working with right now where it's like, you're doing half of this work and they're doing the other half. You guys should meet, and you find those synergies and all that. And sometimes it's just having the right connector. And sometimes it's working with a little company out in New Mexico and helping you with your branding in Missouri that might be giving discounts to micro license applicants. I don't know. Throwing that out there in case someone's, listening.
Well, as far as the consumption lounges, there should be as many consumption lounges as there are bars.
Bars, yeah.
I mean,
even more when you start to look at the alcohol sales dropping and what's happening there, which I actually have a report that I'm going to talk about later about the alcohol industry has now dictated to all the companies that it is time for you to embrace legalization and prepare to embrace it as a business.
And you're sold on the beverage is the next big thing.
I know for a fact, okay, that, and listen, I know everybody thinks Missouri is a premature market for it. It was up until now. This is the time of the cannabis beverage. It's going to sweep across America. I truly believe that. I think that as long as we keep embracing cannabis as an exit drug strategy away from the nasties, things like booze, I think that we can win every time. So yes, I do think that and I'll say it time and time again on the show, now is going to be the time of the cannabis drink that's going to take America by storm. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry. What else we got, Denise?
So I want to touch on these cannabis lounges. The way that the Constitution is set up and the regulations is that it's deferred to the local government. For them to come up with their own rules about where they're going to allow public consumption. I don't think St. Louis doesn't have the law yet, but people like Chris are networking with the officials there in order to make that happen. Now, I believe on the west side of the state, just north of Kansas City, there's like a whole, Six Flags, not Six Flags, but like a whole festival location that's working on that.
Right.
And
Smokey
what you have
Smokey River Entertainment District, proud sponsors of the Waxy Brown Flower Power Hour.
And that wasn't even planned.
20% off if you use the code Waxy.
Yep, use code
Stay
Waxy for 20% off your tickets to the Wiz Khalifa show on 420. And look out for our big announcements coming up for the 4th of July show.
And their local jurisdiction had to have come up with the laws to allow them to do that.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because I can tell you, having been on a Raleigh City Council, which is a larger city council or Class 3 city, I can tell you that it does not take as much work as people think it does to go knock on those doors, talk to those politicians, or become one yourself if you're driven to do that. So it's very accessible what Denise is talking about. If you want to engage your local city government like Chris is doing, you could put gas in its ass and rockets in its pockets and get these lounges moving for everybody.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to reach out to a lot of these politicians. And over the years, I've been more and more surprised how much they actually are trying to find people to talk about it with. They're desperate for information on all of this type of stuff.
Right.
And if you come to them with a business plan, I mean, what municipality doesn't want business, happening right next door?
My favorite part about the business plan is I just walk in with him.
This is what I'm doing.
This is what I do. Right.
So, question one then: say you got a dispensary sitting in a building. There is a limit on how far you're allowed to consume from a dispensary, correct or not?
Well, there's not a foot number of number of feet that it has to be,
right?
But it's you can't have it on premises.
Yeah. So
on the premises of the property.
Well, I would say
like
yes.
For example,
it's not going to be
there's
just
a dispensary right next door. Okay, and then next door is a unused unit. If somebody wanted to put a consumption lounge in there, that would be possible.
Yes, because that's DHSS is not regulating that next door lounge.
Okay. Gotcha.
But they are very specific about not doing it.
They're pointing at me. I
allowing
got
it
time.
to
Pointing at you because
licensed location.
Brett just signed a 3-year lease on that, and he's trying to figure out what to do with it.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk offline.
Well, I'm learning a lot,
I
you
got
know,
it,
and I
yeah.
got all my wheels are spinning.
Yeah,
here,
that's
you
how
know.
they should be. I hope the
I'm gonna
listeners are
I'm
getting
gonna
that
be the
too.
next, McDonald's of consumption lounges.
Well,
Hey,
and-
don't act like you
Hold
got a
on.
bunch of balls up there.
Hold on. Justin, what
Well,
was that?
And so one of the things we're running into down here with our consumption lounges is like we have it written in our laws, but like in Santa Fe, we have a public smoking ban. And so you can apply for a license, you can get approved, but you can't open because you're still considering a cigarette smoking thing. So you have to get a variance, and they're being very, very slow on getting the variances and all that. Do you think Missouri is going to be the same kind of way with some of these cities, or do you think you guys are a little more ahead of the curve with common sense?
I think I've spoken to enough politicians around the general St. Louis area to where they want to see these. They want to see fewer bars. They want to see people places where people can legally consume. And Missouri just passed that additional 3% tax. These local municipalities all over the state, overwhelmingly. And if they want to see more of that tax money, they got to provide places for people to use this.
Absolutely.
And I think they're making that connection that if they want their little
3%,
piece of tax,
right?
They're going to have to also provide places for people to use it. So
Yeah, safety
I think
first.
Other than their home.
Yeah, I think they're going to connect it. I mean, I would love to see whether it be High Times doing a big cannabis cup here. Let's rent out the Dome. Let's smoke that place out.
And you know what's going to be on
the city of
deck?
St. Louis can issue a temporary license to do that, and I don't know what other city can.
Yeah, and you know what else is going to be in that room? Cannabis drinks, because that's the next big thing.
I get it. I get it.
Well, everybody's going to have cotton mouth, so you got to have something
You know
to
what I'm
drink,
saying?
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Right? I'm living it.
So this is the kind of brainstorming that everybody needs to be doing now.
Right.
Next on the timeline is DHSS will start accepting applications on September 4th. And then they'll accept them from September 4th until October 4th.
And that's like that.
It is like that. But you, like I said, right now you can start looking at what the requests are or what needs to be on the application. So once that happens, the first lottery for these applications, for these microbusiness licenses, is approximately October 4th. And at that time, so a total of 144 new microbusiness licenses are going to be issued underneath the amendment. And those are going to be issued in 3 separate rounds.
Right, okay.
Over the course of 18 months. And that 18 months begins this October. It's not exactly 9 months after the other, but it's over that kind of general period.
Now, that is a per year number, though,
No.
right?
It's a per round number.
And that's
the 144, that's in total.
That's in total of the 3 years.
Right.
Correct. So
Not 3 years, 3 rounds.
3 rounds, correct.
Okay.
18 months, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so my question is this. Now that there's 3 rounds, right? Is that 3 rounds from that initial pool of people, or is that 3 times that people are going to be able to put in for these licenses, or is it another thing that you're going to tell me is not really written out?
I've spoken with the department about this, about what they're going to do,
Okay.
and the feedback that I got at that time that they were still thinking about it. However, the regulations do talk about submitting applications in rounds. So it may be per round, but we'll still see. We're working out that interpretation.
Go ahead, Chris.
And I think that may benefit people because unlike the licensing that Missouri has done before, you get your money back.
Right.
This isn't, you're not just giving your money away to the state. And, life happens, things happen, things change. So there may be some people that are full in on the first round that, want their money back and don't want to wait around for a potential round 3 of it just kind of sitting somewhere. So maybe that is a good thing. I don't know.
So that really changes my handicapping, though, because that'll just, if you had different.
I forgot
life,
you got your own betting thing going on over here.
Right,
Okay,
totally.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to have to change my number now.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris, we're going to talk about this from a handicap perspective.
Okay.
Just to clarify, if you file for the first round and you don't get a license, you get your money back for that, but you have to refile for the second round.
That's the way the rules look like
Okay.
right now, but we still need some interpretation to happen. But that's operate underneath that principle at the moment. I do want to caution people, though. The fee is $1,500. Now, it's not automatic that you're going to get that back. You'll get that back if you qualify qualify for the microbusiness licenses and meet all of the rules and regulations, and all you had the greater than the majority of your members met these eligibility criteria. But if DHSS goes through and looks at your application and you didn't meet those eligibility criteria, well, then you don't qualify to get it back. So be careful. So,
right.
I mean, but why would you want to spend your time anyway putting this together if you weren't careful about?
But I know one way that you can probably avoid that problem.
Hire Denise McCracken. Right? Man, that was the best pitch we've heard yet.
Man. she queued that
come on this program more often.
So yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
Not like serving that one up.
I only have a couple more moments.
That's something that you're going to make sure that, if you take on somebody as a client, you're going to pretty much know whether or not they're going to qualify or not. And if they're not, then you're probably going to say, this probably isn't for you.
Absolutely, because I have those rules of professional responsibility.
Right.
Well, I have those too.
Yeah, I'm going out and getting arrested.
But your name's Waxy Brown.
Okay, so I only have a few more moments with you cats and these rules. Is there anything that we're missing here? Something that if I'm wanting to look at these things, something that I'm missing that I need to know?
Yes, be smart about this.
I'm out then.
You're just fortunate you got a good marketing guy.
I got a team. That's what they keep telling
Put
me.
the team together. Everybody has their skill set, right? Now there's 144. That's a lot of new licenses to be out there. They are broken down into congressional districts. So there's only a certain number that are going to be per congressional district, and you're going to have to say where yours is going to be located. Think about the number of applicants there were for medical marijuana. So in order to be aware that there are strategies for increasing your likelihood of success, and be smart about it. Put your business plan together. That is one of the biggest messages that I try and get across to people in the webinars that I do and something like this. Look at those things in advance and plan it through. And once again, going back to the resources that are out there and people that might want to be working with you, the incubators that are out there, the associations that are out there. Those are connections that may help you increase your likelihood of success.
Listen to Waxy Brown's Flower
I'm
Power
telling
Hour,
you.
3 to 5.
Woo, baby. All right, before I let you guys go, and we jump into a Courage and Cannabis episode, and after that, I want to talk about 420 Fest and Captain Crossfade to close out the show. I want to give you guys an opportunity to give a shout out to, because we've been talking about teams. I want you guys to give a shout out to your teams. And Andrew, I'm going to ask you to come over and sit in my chair while you do that as well. So let's start over here. Chris, give a shout out to your team, brother. Who's helping you out here?
I mean, honestly, there's too many people to count. What really makes everything work for us is our bud tenders. Our bud tenders are out there making everything happen every day for everyone. Next, we got the managers just trying to organize chaos. After that, we have the buyers, and then people like me trying to make sure that the state or city's not shutting us down. And then we have the attorneys. It always ends with the attorneys.
It always ends with Denise.
And people exactly like Denise. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone, even our patients, customers, bud tenders, much love to all of them making all this happen.
What about Mom?
Mom wasn't a fan of cannabis at the beginning, so she can hold off on a shout.
All right, Denise, let's give a shout out to your team.
So I truly mean this when I say it, but my clients, I have some amazing clients, and I'm very fortunate that, I've been able to build relationships with these people, worked through issues with them as this industry has evolved, gotten to know them as people. So my clients are wonderful out there. I also want to give a shout out to, the associations that make the networking work, and that includes places like Mocan Trade. And I will give a huge shout out to my family and to my mom.
Awesome. All right, brother. Let's give a shout out, because I know you got a squad out there.
Again, try to be humble about all this. At the end of the day, Mocan operates with a staff of 2. It's myself, Melissa Kahn here, our associate director. So, we're
Hey,
always,
Melissa, come over here.
always trying to do best on behalf of the industry. That's really our mission, is to represent the needs and concerns of the industry and advocate on the industry's behalf and our members' behalf. You know, we do have a board of 15, an advisory board of 42, and then our membership. And I truly believe when we get together, everybody gets under the MoCan tent. You know, we're sharing ideas, we're sharing best practices, and we're all working together to raise the tide for everybody. This is about us as an industry and about you know. I like to look at the outcome. Look where we are. I truly believe that's the collective efforts of all of us working together to make this what it is. So,
Melissa,
yeah,
welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. All right, folks. Well, that's going to cut it for this segment. I really appreciate you guys traveling down and being on the show and for being as waxy as you guys are. My big shout out, my big thank you is to all of you folks in this room who built this, what I believe is a patient's industry for Missouri. Appreciate you guys very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Somebody's got to share the message. So appreciate you guys carrying that torch.
We appreciate that, man. It's a dab rig. So you guys are listening to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios at KKID 92.9. We'll be right back.
Chess is the perfect metaphor for business. You have to consider every angle before you move. You and your opponent have the same rules to follow. Not now, Michelle. I'm recording this ad right now. No, I didn't pick up that cheese you like. Well, I didn't see it when I was at the store. What is that in your hand? Oh, this is that fire concentrate we got the other day? Hell yes, I'll do a dab with you. Why didn't you just say that? Oh, shit. This is still recording. Check out the creative minds at Route 66 Labs. Obama. Out.
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
People always ask me, how do you do it? What's your secret? How long did it take? What kind of dedication do you have? How do you do it every day? Well, the truth is, I'm high as shit most of the time, and I wax off a lot. I mean a lot.
Let's give a warm welcome to Smokey River Cannabis.
Hello, Missouri. Are you ready?
At BesaMe Wellness, we're all about supporting the health and well-being of our community. With a wide selection of locally curated medical marijuana products, we'll help find what works best for you. Don't have a card? Let us help navigate the application process. And if you can't make it to one of our 5 convenient locations, we'll even deliver to your door. Visit us in-store or online at BesaMeWellness.com.
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
Premium.
Welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios right here in the Grozarks, K-Kid 92.9. That's the classic rock station that puts me on, y'all, and I'm grateful for that. Hey, Justin, let's take them into our new Courage and Cannabis interview that we've got. Folks, a little background. Courage and Cannabis Volume 2 is a book written by Dr. Bridget Cole Williams, where she's telling a lot of cannabis and a lot of cannabis stories in there for folks that have either had a tough road of it or have some pretty great stories. I'm in the book, which I'm pretty blessed for that, and I'm very grateful for that, as well as folks like Ed Rosenthal, Mike Tyson, lots of great folks, including the next interview we have up. Justin, can you tee us up? Justin's
I
muted.
can, but then it makes it hard for me to play the video, buddy.
Oh,
So yeah, it's Christy Chapman, and she has a CBD inhaler that has a pretty cool story and cause behind why it came out. So
very cool.
Without further ado, I'll fire it up. You fire it up too, if you're listening at home. How's that?
We're on it.
Courage and Cannabis authors. Available for sale this spring. Visit courageandcannabis.com for more info.
With me today is Christy Chapman, one of the Courage and Cannabis authors. We're continuing our series with all the great authors and sparks that Dr. Bridget has pulled together for this book. We're excited to continue with. Christy, how's everything going with you today?
It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining.
Perfect. And we get to talk about hemp and cannabis. That's even better, right?
It doesn't get any better than that.
Well, as everyone can clearly see, I am not Waxy Brown. I am a monochromatic shirt on today versus the tie-dye that Waxy normally wears. He is out driving through the hills of Missouri and having some cell issues. So I'm filling in for him. So it is what it is, but we'll get through it just fine. But Christy, we always like to talk to people about their path to cannabis. And I'd like to start there if that's okay with you. So tell us a little bit about your path to cannabis and how you got started working with this amazing plant.
Well, Justin, coming to cannabis was a interesting journey for me. Of course, as a respiratory therapist and working in the hospital, I did not partake for a few decades after high school. And then when I realized that I myself had some health issues that really required intervention for my best quality of life. And so cannabis became a part of my life when I desired to get off of opiates, and I became very interested in topicals. And so that I just nosedived right in once I realized how beautiful it was.
That's really cool that you know, not only did you see that opportunity, but you took it, and it seems like it's been a pretty good path for you, because now you're spreading the gospel of hemp and CBD and all that good stuff and helping other people. So good for you with that. So you run Chapman Wellness, correct?
Correct. I own Chapman Health and Wellness.
Perfect. And you get, and I pull up your website, which is, I'm going to cheat real quick because I get so many websites, but chapmanhealthandwellness.com. But one of the things that really kind of hit me pretty hard in the face was the CBD inhaler that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the CBD inhaler is my baby. As a respiratory practitioner who worked in critical care in the emergency room for a few decades, when I recognized how CBD affected inflammation and how it took it down. And one of the things that disease process has is great inflammation. So using the inhaler to take care of lung issues along with other diseases just made sense.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, if you can't breathe, I mean, the rest of it's kind of falls by the wayside. And, you know, I'm somebody who I've struggled with either asthma or some scar tissue in my lungs and all that for a long time. So as soon as I saw the CBD pop up, and we talked a little before the interview, I'm geeking out, and I'm probably picking up a couple of them myself. But so how have people, or I guess the patients that you've run into that have benefited from this inhaler, what are their stories like? What have you seen people really get excited about with the use of this CBD inhaler?
Thank you for asking that, Justin. I actually just thought of my favorite patient, and it was a toddler who had a burn, and the emergency room doctor gave the mom some liquid drops to take the pain away. And that would have been this child's first experience with opiates.
Oh.
The child's mother knew somebody that actually knew me, and we were able to get an inhaler to them immediately. And that child today did not have to use opiates that day.
That is so cool.
By ingesting CBD, she was comfortable. She was not fussy. And, you know, the doctors were ready to push narcotics on this child. And we all know that CBD, being the great anti-inflammatory and pain reliever, was able to change this little girl's journey. So that's one of my favorite stories.
That is one of the coolest things I've heard in a long time with regards to this plant and the way that it can benefit somebody. I mean, totally keeping somebody away from opioids at that early stage in life, that has to feel really good. So good for you for doing that and helping out with that situation.
Thank you. It's a collective. You know, everybody who has been in the industry before it was an industry, to people who are doing the regulations, the formulating, all of it. It just takes everybody. So it's a big effort.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people that listen to our show obviously are hemp and or cannabis enthusiasts, and a lot of people start out with smoking cannabis or inhaling it that way. So there's a baseline of knowledge that when you smoke cannabis, you get a good effect and you get the absorption through the lungs. Seeing it with CBD, you know, obviously we've talked a little bit about it's being a rapid absorption, all that kind of stuff. But what are some of the other benefits that people can expect to encounter when they do try a CBD inhaler for the first time and may have been a cannabis user, or even a person who's looking for some relief from their own congestive breathing problems?
So could you just ask that question one more time so I can narrow it down a little bit?
Sure. Sorry, I get a little verbose, but
That's all right.
So when someone's trying a CBD inhaler for the first time, what are some of the things that they can expect that are might be eye-opening to somebody who has never thought about taking CBD this way?
That's another good question. CBD, being a bronchodilator, can certainly be used by asthma patients. When somebody first uses the inhaler, some of the feedback that I have gotten is I didn't get the nervous shaking that I do with an albuterol inhaler. Some of the other things that I've heard is I don't have to smoke as much because I'm more comfortable. I know of another situation where IBS has really been an issue with let me rephrase that. CBD has really been a great factor in patients with IBS. When patients have IBS and they're not able to keep food or water down, doing an inhaler that has no taste, easy to get down, it's not a matter of keeping it in your stomach, it's immediate onset. So the relief is great, whether it's asthma or whether it's IBS, somebody who's unable to eat. These are all feedback I've gotten from people first using the inhaler that have just gotten really good relief and a change of quality of life. And that's really what it's all about.
You know, it's interesting. We're talking about the inhalation of the plant and all that. So my mother has some issues with her asthma and things like that. And she got introduced to cannabis kind of through me being in the industry and all that. But what was interesting with her story was she went into a dispensary and picked up the bud tender, just said, here, take this cart and smoke away and go nuts. And really didn't give her a whole lot of explanation or any understanding of how to properly use it. So having been somebody who would take a puff that was the dose, that was the easy way to dose, which is an inhaler, you know, and you're done. She took a cart of really high potent cannabis oil and kept pulling on it, thinking that the inhaler, the battery would turn off when she had her effective dose. So here is somebody in her, I will be nice and say not in her 60s anymore, who is used to taking inhalers, used to the concept of a measured dose, taking a unmeasured dose, and basically going to Mars and finally coming back after an anxiety attack. So knowing that this is out there for people that may not want to go down the traditional pharmaceutical path with opioids or even albuterol or any of the other things that I'm sure that this can either circumvent or replace or benefit. This is really cool. This is a great application of the science and the medicine. So when we talked earlier, you mentioned that some of the people that take this, that still consume cannabis above and beyond this, have a fun little experience. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, the inhaler increases surface area, so you're able to absorb more. And so let's just use the example that we were discussing earlier. When the lungs are inflamed, they're not able to absorb as much, of course. And so I have had people report that after opening their airways up and then attempting to smoke something else, that it affected them on a much greater level because the lungs were opened up, because the basis of the lungs had popped open. Yeah. So it allows you to absorb more. So that's one of the fun side effects.
Yeah, and it was interesting hearing you mentioned somebody had gone out for a cigarette, which seems counterproductive when you're talking about your lungs and your respiratory system. But what did you say? They weren't able to finish the cigarette, so that it was something where who knows? Maybe it's a way to help people quit smoking by giving them more oxygen in their body. You know.
Well, I don't advocate for cigarettes, but I did have somebody use the inhaler and go out and attempt to smoke their whole cigarette. And they, in fact, came back and said that they got dizzy. And so, we're opening the lungs up. And so whatever we're putting in there, you're going to absorb a lot more of it. So who knows, maybe stopping smoking
you take a couple puffs of a CBD inhaler and you cut down on your nicotine. I don't know. We'll have to look at that one.
Yeah, that overdose of nicotine is the grossest feeling in the world. So don't do it, people.
Don't do it. Don't smoke.
Yeah. So
one of the things that I would like to share that you mentioned is dosage. And that's one of the most important things on my agenda is now that we know cannabis and CBD are medicinal products for us, what is a dose? Does it mean that we can just smoke a joint and our disease goes away? In fact, it's so much more important that we have a regulated dose of exactly what we need for our disease process. So I'm a big fan of dosing. THC inhalers are phenomenal. It really does help the patient who is not interested in being a cannabis smoker, if you will. We all have to adjust in how we're healing. And it means we have to bring in modalities that maybe we didn't when we were not feeling well. So starting with an inhaler is a healthy way to get somebody who is not used to that modality to be able to enjoy the benefits with a metered dose, so that that they don't have that uncomfortable feeling of, is this going to be too much for me? As we draw on a cannabis cigarette or whatever, we are just at its mercy. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not.
That's very true. So Christy, with the Courage in Cannabis book, Volume 2, you've got you're an author, so you've got a full contribution to the book here. You're not just a spark like Waxy is, which I'm going to give him grief for just being a spark, but it's all in good fun. But so if somebody were to pick up the book here through the Courage in Cannabis website, what can they expect to see from your contribution to the book?
Well, I'm hoping that my contribution to Courage in Cannabis is that people are not afraid to take their health into their own hands. I have a lengthy health history with IBS and fibromyalgia, and not looking at the doctor for the answers, but looking into oneself. We are the best at loving ourselves. We are the best at knowing what our body does. And I'm not saying don't go to the doctor, but ask yourself those questions. Is this really best for me? Can I take a natural path and get to where I want my life to be? So from my perspective, cannabis has been, it has put me in a place that I've always desired to be. They told me just in, it's been probably 25 years. The doctor told me I would be on opiates for the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
And there was a moment where I just remember that aha moment of, what you're telling me is not what I'm going to accept. And so I personally went off on a huge journey of spiritual, physical, that encapsulates the whole person. So I'm hoping that the contribution that I make to the book is that people can really look for a natural healing, look for plant-based products, plant-based food, to nourish your body, to have it function the best it's ever functioned. So I encourage people to take a hold of their health. I hope that's what they get.
Yeah, and hopefully not only do they take a hold of their health, but they pick up a copy of the book and share it with others. The gift of knowledge is never a bad thing. So
absolutely.
Well, Christy, that kind of brings us to the top of our time here together. And I really appreciate you jumping on board and talking to us today and giving even me some options. And I'm somebody who's been in the industry for a while. So thank you so much for sharing your information and your story with us. We really appreciate it. We would love to have you back on the show down the line, of course, and talk more about the fun new things you're getting into. And of course, hearing more great stories of people making healthier life choices through using the plant instead of a fistful of pills to cure themselves. So thank you so much. But with that, we'll go back to the guys in studio, and you are listening to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on KKID 92.9, coming to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios. So thanks, Christy, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me, Justin.
Chess is the perfect metaphor for business. You have to consider every angle before you move. You and your opponent have the same rules to follow. Not now, Michelle. I'm recording this ad right now. No, I didn't pick up that cheese you like. Well, I didn't see it when I was at the store. What is that in your hand? Oh, this is that fire concentrate we got the other day? Hell yes, I'll do a dab with you. Why didn't you just say that? Oh, this is still recording. Check out the creative minds at Route 66 Labs. Obama. Out!
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
People always ask me, how do you do it? What's your secret? How long did it take? What kind of dedication do you have? How do you do it every day? Well, the truth is, I'm high as shit most of the time, and I wax off a lot. I mean a lot.
Let's give a warm welcome to Smokey River Cannabis.
Hello, Missouri. Are you ready?
At BesaMe Wellness, we're all about supporting the health and well-being of our community. With a wide selection of locally curated medical marijuana products, we'll help find what works best for you. Don't have a card? Let us help navigate the application process. And if you can't make it to one of our 5 convenient locations, we'll even deliver to your door. Visit us in-store or online at BesaMeWellness.com.
Here we have a prime example of a macaque. His name is Marcus. This particular macaque is bored. He's tired of the same old concert experience. Us too, little buddy. Well, you're in luck, Marcus. Introducing Captain Crossfade, a blend of THCV and CBC. This drink is the life of the party. Energy and focus, as well as an, enhanced experience with other consumables. Marcus is now ready to party all night long. Look at him go. Brought to you by Waxy Brown.
Premium brand. Different. Organic. We're the best. High quality. Unique. Premium brand. Different. Unique. Premium high quality. We're different. We're different. Premium brand.
Listen to the sound of my voice. You are getting sleepy. You want to wax off.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios at K-Kid 92.9. Hey, I want to stop for a quick second before we go any further and give a great big neighborhood happy anniversary to Steve and Jill Wheeler. Happy anniversary, buddy.
Thank you. 37 years she's put up with me.
Man, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of
You only
putting
been
up
around
with.
a couple of
I'm
years.
not talking
and
about
look
the
how you-
years. I'm talking about the amount of stuff she had to put up with.
Trust me.
All right, so let's dive into something we're real stoked about, guys. I know, Justin, you're excited. You're coming down here for the 420 Fest. The 420 Fest. It's happening at Smokey River Entertainment District. It's going to be one of the coolest things that Missouri's ever seen. It's the biggest consumption lounge on the planet. It's got Wiz Khalifa's going to perform, Burner, Chevy Woods, and more. It's gonna be absolutely wild. Smoke Dizza is gonna be there, all kinds of stuff. They got Ric Flair is gonna be in the VIP hanging out as well as Mike Tyson. That startled me. As well as
crap out of me.
Yeah.
No sudden movements around the Waxy.
Man, yo. So it's gonna be
my underwear.
it's gonna be a really good time. We're really blessed because we're gonna be there in Cannabis Village with our own booth for the team.
Right.
Waxy Brown Wax Off on deck, the whole crew, the K-Kid squad, Flower Power Hour. We're all there, and it's gonna be a big old good time. And also, did I already tell you we're in a cannabis village? Like, how cool is that?
I can't wait to be in the cannabis
I
village.
can't wait to. Justin, have you ever been in a cannabis village before?
Can neither confirm nor deny, but the
Oh,
statute
gotcha.
of limitations might be running out. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get Denise McCracken back.
They were known as Canadians at that point. So.
Canadians.
Okay, so it's going to be really exciting, but we're also very excited because at this event, we're debuting a brand new Team Waxy Brown product called, I should have got a drum roll from you, Steve, Captain Crossfade. Now, Justin and Tim, let's take them on a walk on how this happened, Captain Crossfade, because first off, let's talk about what this drink is.
So it really started in a conversation about all the different compounds that's inside the plant and how we don't know what combinations are going to do what yet. But we do have some research on a couple of different compounds that we had one of our team members, Phil, get involved and did some research, and we've come up with a formulation. We've got a manufacturer now that's making the product, and it's totally a nutritional supplement. No hemp, no cannabis, nothing in it, and we're just going to move forward and across. I mean, again, I love the branding that he's done with this.
So let's talk about THCV for just a second. So THCV, I'm a big fan of replacement things, right? I like to think of cannabis and our culture as replacement strategies, right? If you think about your 5-hour energy drinks, your monster drinks, things like that, there's a replacement out there, and it's THCV. It's the one that gives you that energy without causing like some of those things that people don't like the agitation and the things like that. I had someone who took it recently describe it like this: when you go to do a task, it's almost like your third eye is pulling you forward into that task, right? And like that's the cool part about THCV and CBC. It's a compound that's a force multiplier that actually takes something like THC and can multiply it and make it an even more extensive feeling. It's going to be a lot of fun. But you know what I like? I like the branding and the marketing behind it, and like the new character. I really like Captain Crossfade himself. Justin, I know you're the cat behind all that, man. How'd you come up with some of that?
Honestly, it was just I was kind of looking at what we had available to us, and I know there've been a ton of NFT projects out there that had some cool looks. The first round, we were like, what do we think? And we're like, this is not going to work because we just couldn't put that on the market. So then we had to dial it back. And we finally found one that was dialed back enough. And, but yeah, I mean, we've got a whole bunch of things that we want to bring out. We've got all the branding and stuff ready to go. We just need to backfill it, but we ran out of time with getting ready for 420 and all the other good stuff we got going on. So we'll at least get Captain Crossfade and probably some more coming out. So
yeah, we've got some more projects on their way. Like I've said before, I believe that drinks are the future in this industry, and I think that healthier products, whether it's cannabis, whether it's mushrooms, whether it's all these great spices and things that we have out there that can help us our health wise. I think that we've got a good chance here at taking a swing at those markets and telling them, hey, we want something a little better than what you guys have been doing, because I don't want to drink monster drinks or the Red Bulls and the 5-hour energy drinks, because that's just not good for you. And so let's go healthier, plant-based, holistic, approach.
Absolutely.
So next week we'll be able to debut all the products that we'll be selling at Smokey River Entertainment, right?
Yep. You guys will be able to stop by our booth, pick up a Captain Crossfade yourself.
He's talking about on the show next week. We'll be able to debut him.
No, we're debuting with Smokey River.
Well, I understand that, but are we going to tease him a little on next week's show?
We will.
Are you going to be here for next week's show? Let's talk about that.
We'll talk about that offline. We're getting ready to end the show, bro.
That's pretty funny, huh, Justin?
But
all I know is I got my Amtrak tickets. I've got a whole box full of Trojan Horse energy drinks, and I'm ready to go. I'm compliant to get across the country.
He's 50 state compliant. Stop, Steve. I already know what joke you were going to make there. He said, "Giant box of Trojan what?"
Trojan what?
So
Trojan
we look forward to having you, man.
So then, obviously, we won't be actually producing the show because you're going to be up here, Justin. So
we may do some StreamYard and stuff, but not on the FM side. So we're gonna highlight the event, the festival.
Set up StreamYard from anywhere.
Yeah, we may even do some random lives off of our Waxy Brown Flower Power Hour page and show you guys what's kicking down there in Cannabis Village.
Well, I mean, I can stay here and be here, and you guys can be over in the village and do it from there too as well. So however you want to do it.
Maybe we'll leave you behind.
We'll leave Steve some Captain Crossfade.
What was that?
Wednesday from 3 till 5. Join Steve as he sits in the studio by himself.
Yeah. We'll get him some Captain Crossfade so we can be super attentive and good to go.
Before we go, I want to give a big shout out. To our guest that we had on, Chris from Starbuds, Denise McCracken. What a great personality she is, and as well as Andrew Mullins from Mocan Trade. What a great conversation we had. So we'll catch you guys next week. You're listening to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, brought to you live from the Robust Cannabis Studios at KKID 92.9.